Turn this up. Turn this up.
Your professional development is one of the keys to your career success. When you combine your desire to grow with actionable steps, your journey to success becomes an incredible reality.
Hi, I'm Paul Faronbi, and welcome to IncrediPaul Leadership, where we learn how to become the most incredible versions of ourselves by learning from each other. So today is a little bit different episode. Like a few weeks ago, I had a highlight from the resilience that I gave for the Summer Success Summit. Say that 5 times fast, but Summer Success Summit we did for my nonprofit, Now a STEM. This time, I want to highlight a talk I did for NSBE Nigeria. So NSBE is the National Society of Black Engineers. It's a global organization, but I know most of the members are here in the United States, and they help black engineers specifically, but really all over STEM, but specifically black engineers, help them to succeed academically, excel professionally, and positively impact the community. So I got to talk with the Nigeria chapter. So it was an international call. I know there was someone from the UK on all over African continent as well. So it was a really engaging conversation, talking specifically about leadership being influence. So stuff I talk about here on the podcast all the time, but I wanted to share it with you all so you get a sneak peek into a virtual conversation with me. Let me know your thoughts on this. I know I have some stuff coming up, and I've done some other things that maybe you want to hear or see on the podcast. And if not, let me know that too. Maybe you prefer the interviews. But in 2024, just trying to mix it up a little bit, add different things, see what works, what doesn't work. That's how I grow. And excited that you have chosen to listen or watch this as well, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast stream platform. Thank you for your support. It means so much, more than you'll ever realize, because I just get a lot of joy from doing this, interacting with people, meeting people on the podcast, from the podcast. So without further ado, my talk with NSBE Nigeria, talking about leadership. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts. Let's get into it. So I'm going to turn it all to you all as far as what is leadership. When I say that word leadership, what do you think of?
I would say influence. Yeah. Influence.
Yeah. Influence.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I would say someone who deliver results through others.
Delivers results. I like that. Any other thoughts?
I would say it's the process of leading people, motivating them, and like being an example as well.
Yeah, I like that. Be an example, motivation. Good.
A coach also comes to my mind.
A coach, yeah, I like that. Explain that more. As far as what you mean by coach.
So I believe that leadership actually comes with coaching, and getting the best out of people includes you coaching them, to express themselves and get results through that.
I like that. Like really digging deep into like people's innermost motivations. I know Marta talked about that, and getting the most out of them when you understand them.
Absolutely.
That's good. Any other thoughts?
For me, leadership is one that leads, and not just leads, but also raise up followers that will take over the leadership position from him.
That's good. I like that. So not leading for the sake of getting all of the power, all of the accolades, so to speak, but leading in a sense that you want to empower others. Well, that's good. No, these are really good answers. And I would say all of the, or someone saying something.
Like some issues there. Can you hear me, Shay?
I can hear you now.
All right, good.
Yeah. I guess that was network.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
yes.
we can hear you.
Yeah.
We can hear you now.
I can hear you.
The presentation got frozen for a bit.
Oh, okay. But you can
Yeah,
hear me okay
you can
now?
go ahead. Yeah, sure. I can
Okay.
hear you. All right.
Okay, perfect. But I don't know how much you heard, but basically what I was saying is all the answers I think are spot on as far as motivation and influence, getting the best out of your people. I'm going to keep it simple. I already mentioned John Maxwell. He has a really good quote as far as leadership is influence, nothing more. And so when you think about it, all those things that you mentioned as far as the influence you have, you really have to start with influence before you can either motivate someone or figure out develop them for future positions or transitions, all of those things. And so what it looks like, the influence can take a variety of ways. So I mentioned a few of them on there, whether it's a parent and a child, that's an influence relationship. You have influence with your coworkers as well. You have influence with your friend, your boss. Even a lot of times, like with speakers, they have influence over the people listening what they're saying as well. So I think just boiling it down to influence makes it not as intimidating, because oftentimes with leadership, it can be this big thing that people aspire to, that they say, I want to get a leadership position. I want to get a management position, which, yes, it's good. You're getting promoted. You're getting more responsibility. All of those things are great, but that doesn't mean that you can't have leadership where you currently are. So a lot of times when I talk with people, I spend a lot of time talking to college students and young professionals as well, is that they don't always see themselves as leaders because they don't have the position. They don't seemingly have any influence. But when you look at it as influence in the sense of when you say things or when you're interacting with people, people turn their ear towards you and are interested. I want to know what you're trying to say. I think that puts in the best way. But any questions about that? But they're really great answers. Yeah. So I want to share a quick statistic I found from Forbes as far as like the Harvard Business Review reveals that 58% or people say they trust strangers more than their own boss. I don't know if you can believe that. 58%. So I think this study was more so based in the US, but 58% will trust a total stranger than someone who has the ability to either give a promotion, fire them, make their day-to-day better. And for a global one, it says 79% of people who quit their jobs cite lack of appreciation for the reason for leaving. And then from careerbuilder.com shows a whopping 58% of managers said they didn't receive any management training. And we might get more into that if there's specific questions on that. But leadership is a specific skill. And I don't know how many people have come across this, where a lot of times you're, especially as engineers, you're in an individual contributor role. You're doing really good technical work. And then you get promoted into a management type role and you're just expected to lead, but you didn't get any specific training. And so leadership is a skill, and some people do it better than others, but it's a skill that you have to continue to develop. So some of the things as far as leadership, we already talked about influence. Other things leadership is its priorities, it's listening, and it's motivating. So what do I mean by that? I already spent a lot of time talking about influence. If there's any other questions, let me know. But priorities is a key one as well. You might ask, what do you mean by that, Paul? Why priorities? Priorities as far as doing the right things. So it's been said that management does things right, but leaders do the right things. So there's the whole thing. There's always different things that we're supposed to be doing, either from our organization and a set way of doing things. And that might not always lend itself to what's best for the people. And so leaders have the right priorities as far as these are the right things that we should be doing, instead of managers are just saying this is the right procedural stuff, but it doesn't always line up with what people need to do or want to do. So really key to have that distinction between, am I doing things right as far as just, am I following a procedure blindly, or am I doing the right things as far as what's going to be good for the company and the individual long term? So that's really key to know. Other thing is leadership is listening. So I've heard it said like the whole process of leadership is you have to listen first, you learn second, and then you can lead. So we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We need to be listening more than we're talking, because it's a really easy to, when someone is telling you a story or talking about things that they want to have or stuff that is bothering them or stuff that they need to, one of 2 things usually happens. Sometimes a third thing happens, is either you tune off and you start thinking about other things, or they say something that sparks a thought as far as, okay, this is what they need. And you stop listening at that point. It's like, okay, this is what they need. These are the steps they should be taking. But a lot of times, and I've seen this, I work with leaders on this as well, is that we need to practice active listening and really slowing down, because we are able to process, I think, up to 300 words per minute as far as listening. People can only talk on the fast end, like maybe 100 words per minute. So that is oftentimes why people are talking to us. We start to think about other things and we're no longer listening to what they're saying. Are you wondering what's next? Has everything you tried failed? Or maybe you just feel stuck? Then coaching might be right for you. The coaching relationship is a relationship totally centered on you. If you're tired of running on the hamster wheel of life and want to start to see results, reach out to IncrediPaul for help. So what are you waiting for? Go to IncrediPaul.org/coaching, IncrediPaul.org/coaching, or at I am IncrediPaul on all my socials. Or you can click the link in the bio for your free coaching session. I want to make sure you become the most incredible version of yourself. And so it can lead us down a path that we think we know exactly what they need. And I don't know if this has happened to you. I know it's happened to me, where it's like I mentioned, I lead a nonprofit, that someone is talking about a situation that they need something, and they're going through all the stuff that they've done or stuff that they're trying to do. And then I have to catch myself. I stop listening. I'm like, okay, this is what you need to do. And then they'll continue talking for maybe 10, 15 more seconds. And then I go ahead and I'm waiting for a moment to chime in, waiting for an opportunity to talk, that space in the conversation. And then I say something, and then I can see a look on their face as far as like, well, I said this doesn't really relate. And they don't always say it. Some people are more honest than others, but the summary is like, I wasn't listening. So listening is really key to leadership. Motivating, as far as I know someone, I think, say you have your hand up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, how do you, because you said you need to practice active listening.
Yeah.
So I wanted to check, apart from the example you gave now, how do you actually do that? How do you get to practice that? Yeah.
How do I practice active listening?
Yep.
So a good way to start active listening is to pause before you're going to say something, or when someone is talking to you. So I'm really intentional about that pause, because I don't know, either on the phone, it happens all the time. With video, you can kind of see if someone's about to say something, but there's times when people will be talking and then they pause because they're trying to get their train of thought, and then they continue talking. And so if we get into the habit of, I'm thinking of what I want to say, and they haven't finished their thought, there's that gap in, maybe it's a half a second. It's not that long. It feels like long with the pause, but it's not really as long as if someone was just watching you. And so you can lose all of that context, and then to the other person, it shows them that you're not listening. So pausing is one of them. The other thing I like to do is, anytime I either say something or someone either has an issue or a problem, I try to rephrase it into simpler terms, what they're trying to do, or what is the issue, what they said. And so that gives me an opportunity to know how well I listened, because I would say I wouldn't say I'm the worst at listening. I would say I'm the best. I'm somewhere in the middle, and I'm continually getting better, because that's just life, getting better. So when you are intentional about you're going to summarize, that forces you to, okay, this person is saying something. I need to pay attention, because if I don't pay attention, I can't summarize. I'm not going to understand if I can even answer the question. I don't know if anyone has been in a situation where you've asked a question and the answer doesn't answer your question because the person wasn't really listening to your answer, and they didn't clarify either. So like even with this, like those are a couple of examples, and I'll ask you, say, like, is that what you're looking for as far as what to do to be more of an active listener?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, good question. Good question. Any other questions? Oh, good. The last one, and I would say these are in no particular order. And if they were in any order, I'd probably put listening first, because you need to listen a lot of times before you can lead effectively. But it's also motivating as far as empowering people and helping them be the best version of themselves. So like, I like to say the most incredible version of yourself. That's everything that I try to do with what I do with the podcast or speaking or coaching, is that I don't try to make someone like me, because there's only one me. There's only one that person. I want that person to be the best version of themselves, and to be motivating as far as empowering them to make positive change, because we are humans. Like, as long as we're alive, we're going to be flawed. There's going to be things we don't do well. There's always going to be something or someone that's better than us. And what we need to work on is how do I get better, and being more of that servant leadership, humility, all those things.
Can we say that to effectively lead others, first we need to learn how to lead ourselves?
Yes,
to grow.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You need to learn to lead yourself. That I'm really glad you brought that up, Marta, because how many times has someone asked you for advice or asked you about your opinion on something? And this is not just a question for Marta, this is for everyone. Has someone asked you a question and you give them advice, and the advice that you gave them is not even something you're doing? Like, I'm not going to put anyone on the spot, but just think about that. As far as you give someone advice that you know the right thing to do, but are you actively doing it? So that's the part of leading yourself. No, that's a great comment. Thanks for that. All right, any other questions as far as this whole idea of leadership, what it is? Okay. So I'll open it up a little bit. And I love the interaction so far. It's been good. So what stops you from pursuing leadership? Just open it up. Are there any fears, or just open up? Like, what stops you from pursuing leadership, either in a more formal sense or maybe in just in life in general? Are there any things that you feel like are holding you back?
So I would say, from a work perspective, maybe I don't want to get involved in politics. There's a lot of politics that are playing at the top.
Okay.
From perspective of historical bad leaders, that has raised a very bad followership, it will be so difficult to make a change. Let me just remain an individual contributor. Also, from a technical perspective, I'm an individual contributor. I just want to continue to be a subject matter expert. I don't want to lead others. Whereas in the real sense, either you are formally a leader or not, you are a leader. But those things might hinder you from, technically pursuing leadership.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see where you're coming from, as far as almost staying in your lane, as far as being an individual contributor or not having good leadership modeled either. Yes, that can be difficult.
Yeah.
That's good. Any other thoughts as far as what stops you from pursuing leadership?
If I could add, maybe the fear of failure.
I think that's a pretty big one, fear of failure. And we'll see if I can get into that, because I have a whole talk I give on resilience and failure. We'll see if I have time to talk about that, but that's a whole thing in itself as far as some strategies.
Mhm.
That's a big one.
That
Anyone else? Go
people
ahead.
may feel like they will have too much of responsibility and stress that may stop them from it. But I think it's linked to this the fear of failure, actually.
Yeah, I can see that. The responsibility and stress, as far as you potentially could feel that all that stress and responsibility weighs down on you and you're not going to achieve as a leader. Yeah, that's a good one.
And for me, it was in the past, but not anymore. I couldn't delegate tasks, so that was a big issue for me.
Man, yeah, delegation is tough. It can be very tough. And I think one reason why delegation can be tough is that you as a leader can do the task better than the people you're often delegating to. Not all the time. Depending on how you recruit your team, might have some people that are specifically better in different areas. But depending on the maturity of your team, you can do it better, you can do it faster. And when you delegate and you're trying to empower them and build that competency, it actually slows things down at the beginning. But being a leader is really focused more on the long term and also allowing people to fail and not letting failure be something that holds you back. Because I mean, it's human nature, because we don't want to look dumb in front of people. We don't want to look like we don't know what we're doing. But failure is really not the only way we learn, but failure is the best way to learn if we take the time to learn from it. As when we succeed, you don't always go back and look, okay, what did I do right? You just think, oh, I succeeded. Everything's good. I can just do it again. But when you fail, you had the opportunity, like, this didn't go well. I can evaluate it. This is what I need to do better in the future. So that's a good one. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, but for me, the reason was different. It was because in my childhood, I learned to do things on my own. I was afraid of. I didn't want to ask anyone for help and preferred to do it on my own. But then I had to learn it when I noticed that I work, instead of working 40 hours per week, in the first month, I was working like 60 hours per week.
Oh, man.
I was like, gosh, I really need to do something.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's too much. That's good. Thanks for sharing that.
There's sometimes when you don't believe in yourself, that could stop you from pursuing leadership.
Yeah.
Because you feel that there's this thought about incapability to even structure oneself. Now, how do you now get to help others structure their life if you cannot take hold of your life by yourself? So that inability to believe in oneself and one's ability could hinder an individual from pursuing leadership.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's a term as far as imposter syndrome. I think that goes along with what you're saying as far as not feeling like you measure up or you're feeling inadequate is, yeah, for sure. Any other thoughts? Go ahead.
This imposter syndrome, because I know in the beginning the researchers thought that only women has it, but then it turned out that like men also experience it. But do you think that all the leaders like experience this syndrome, that they don't feel they deserve their position or they're not good enough?
Yes, absolutely.
One.
Yeah, absolutely. It is really prevalent. I know I've heard that as well early on in my career, as far as imposter syndrome impacting women and also minorities a little bit more. But was it last week, or I don't remember what it was. I've heard it a few different times, but as most recently, I heard it on a podcast last week as someone describing why often they say women exhibit it more, is that women are more likely to be vocal about it as far as expressing their feelings. Just from an anatomy standpoint, between males and females, males are not the most expressive. So a lot of times they might both be feeling it, because there's a study that they did when it was a blind study as far as just how often they experience feelings of imposter syndrome. The numbers were the same across male and female, but when people are doing it in person, or they're seeing, there's that kind of stigma from the man. I want to be the man. I want to be seen as someone that's good and nothing's wrong with me. So it affects men. Just to summarize, it affects men and women about the same, but women are more likely to voice it out than men are. And so that's also been something I've been more intentional about talking about it, because what keeps you in imposter syndrome is when you don't talk about it, and other people can either help you or understand that you're not the only one doing it, because imposter syndrome is isolation in itself. You feel like you're the only one feeling this way. Everyone else has everything together. There's no one else struggling, or no one else has ever felt this way. I'm alone. All of this. That is not true. I know it can happen. A lot of times it happens the most, like whether when you just got a promotion, or you're just starting a new job, or in a new area. And so if you think about that, like if you had a friend, just think about it from a friend perspective, and they were just starting something new, like you wouldn't expect them to know everything about it because it's new. But on ourselves, we feel like, oh, they saw something in me. I need to achieve and do this stuff right away. And these other people are seemingly they're doing really well, but we don't know how they're feeling on the inside. So
I feel like you're speaking from experience.
Definitely.
Because you describe what happened to me as well.
Yes, definitely. I'll be honest, that imposter syndrome is something, it comes and goes for me. I don't think maybe there's a way to get rid of it, so to speak, but it kind of comes along with this whole fear of failure thing. Like you don't want to fail. You don't want to look dumb. You don't want to look stupid, any of that stuff. So I tell people
so it's good to remember that most of the fears are just in our heads. And
yes.
Yes.
It's often in your head, and we go to the worst case scenario, and it's rarely that. So I don't know if anyone's heard this before. If you have, then it's a good reminder as far as what fears are. There's a acrostic for it, that the fears are false evidence appearing real. Because a lot of the times when we have fears, they are not the reality of what's actually going on. We think worst case scenario. We think everyone's going to laugh at us, or people are going to think about, why did this person get this, or this is not the right person for it. And the funny thing is that the people that have, I won't say this always happens, the people that have imposter syndrome are usually the right person for the job. And then the people who are overconfident and they think they're doing really well, and they get into a role like that, don't have imposter syndrome because they're overconfident. So it's like flipped. But no, good discussion, good thoughts. Any other thoughts as far as what stops you from pursuing leadership? All right, so I have a few on here, but you all really gave much better examples. As far as first one is not a born leader. And so the funny thing about it is that leadership is, some people do have more natural inclinations to leadership, I'm not going to lie, but leadership is, like I mentioned, it's a skill that can be developed, it can be learned. And so people, I've heard it said that people think that, well, if I wasn't born a leader, then I'm not going to be a leader. But the thing is that all leaders are, everyone that was born, if you're born, you're a person that's, I'm going to restart. Sorry about that. Just because you're not a natural born leader doesn't mean you can't become a leader. So I'll leave it at that. Title and seniority is not something that makes you a leader. we know people that are managers, or they might have a leadership title, but do they have that influence as far as soon as people are walk away, or maybe they're directed to do something and people will do the very minimum of what they need to do and nothing less or nothing more. They're not going to do any more because that person's just a manager to telling you need to do this, either a micromanager or someone who takes the credit for their work. And so if someone's going to take the credit for your work, you're not likely to go above and beyond. The other one, as far as work experience, that definitely work helps as far as having the experience and having the insight into things. But there's a lot of value in having diverse experiences that it might not be in the same area, but I think we've seen it with different collaborations or cross-functional stuff within different types of businesses. And so bringing those ideas is really valuable. And then waiting until you get in a position to get on your leadership. So I would say if you're in a leadership position already, definitely work on your leadership. If you're not in a leadership position and you don't even think you want to be in a leadership position, still work on your leadership. Like I mentioned, leadership is influence. And so even within your peers, within your group, within maybe people you're mentoring, all that stuff, leadership is critical. Everything. Go ahead.
Sorry for that. One good way to improve your leadership skills is even cooperate with some charities. Join such organizations where you can improve your skills for free.
Yes, that's very true. Volunteering is a great way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what actually NSBE, so we got National Society of Black Engineers, which is a student-led organization that's emanated out of the United States. So we've got members here. So I think a couple of us, or if not all of us, are members of the National Society of Black Engineers, where we can tend to volunteer and use our skills to, ensure we have, culturally diverse, ethnic minority people that are doing excellently in school and of course in their jobs as well. They excel in their jobs. So that's one of the ways. So one of the essence of this training basically with Paul is to see how well we can enhance possibly our existing leadership skills, or if we don't have any, we can, bring it. We believe that everyone is a leader, right? You could have that leadership potential inside of you that are latent, but you don't know how to, maximize it, in which obviously Paul is helping us to bring out. And I think fantastic point by Martha saying, yes, we could do this. And yeah, I mean, we're happy to have you. I'm currently in the UK, by the way, so I'm going to connect with you, Martha, and we could have further conversations on that.
That's good. I love that.
Where in the UK? Sorry.
I'm in Edinburgh.
Just curious. Edinburgh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you?
Good.
I'm in England.
Okay.
In Derby.
Cool. All right. So just have a private chat just now.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Let's connect.
Definitely connect. So that's really good. Yeah. I think it's funny. It's almost like you all have my slides as far as you know what I'm going to talk about next, because that's like a perfect transition into the first thing I have on there. You're just getting involved where you can. So you guys we're on the same wavelength. So I like that. Wherever you can. So whether that's volunteering in organizations like NSBE, or it might not even be that formal. It might be somewhere you see a need, you see something that needs to be done, and do it. Next thing is also...
Sorry, I think there's a comment. Say, can we assume that leadership could also be professionally based? That is, your leadership depends on your specific role or profession. That's a question.
Okay. Oh, I see it now. Professionally based. So it can be, it doesn't have to be. So leadership looks different in every area. Because I mentioned like there's leadership in like the family sort of thing. There's leadership between friends, leadership in co-workers. I think there is a lot that goes into the professional side of leadership as far as really understanding the dynamics of your organization and your either your immediate boss or even your boss's boss. Because at the end of the day, when you're in a professional environment, the whole reason why you're there is to make money for the business. So however you're doing that, so I mentioned like what I do is on a continuous improvement side, whether that's leading training or gathering data, or if you're on the technical side as far as coming up with solutions that are needed or solving different problems, or even if you're more on the admin side as far as making sure people have the resources that they need. I think for the professional side, what you have to understand is, okay, why is my business here or organization here? What are they for? How does my role help with that? And really, as a leader, you start to think more long-term as far as the vision, as far as does my role need to be a little bit different? Because a leader, there's job descriptions that say some things, and most of them are not they're never all encompassing on what you're supposed to be doing. But when you have a clear understanding, okay, this is where the business is going, this is how I tie into that, and you can come up with innovative ideas or solutions that help the business, that's gonna help you long term as far as maybe getting promoted within your role or getting larger responsibility. So I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yes. I just need that clarity so that
Yeah.
I can understand how the leadership also plays here.
Yeah, definitely. Good question. All right. I'm going to start to speed up a little bit because I have and I want to make sure I have time for questions. There have been a lot of great questions. I think you basically have probably read everything on the slide, but I can definitely recommend a lot of good books. Anything really by John C. Maxwell is a good book. If you are either early on in your leadership or you just want a book that's foundational that you can build on for leadership, I recommend the book Developing the Leader Within You 2.0 by John C. Maxwell. I can put it in the chat later, but Developing the Leader Within You 2.0, phenomenal book. I'm actually doing a mastermind on that book currently. So it's really good, and it really goes from talking through what leadership is as far as influence all the way to how you can replicate leaders. So I will actually skip over this. I'll talk briefly about this, but I want to get to kind of the key takeaway. So this is the nonprofit as far as what I do with Knowledge STEM to unite, support, and build community among all historically excluded people in STEM. So at least within the United States, there's been opportunities as far as people that are not white or male as far as getting into STEM. So the organization that I help create as far as a nonprofit really focuses on helping people. So similar to NSBE, it's more focused on the research side. So a lot of the people within our community are more so people going for graduate degrees, already have PhDs or postdoc degrees. And so kind of started from a local organization that was funded by the National Science Foundation. And so they didn't have an alumni association. I had an opportunity to connect with some people at a higher level to lead it as an alumni association. And now we've since expanded to help everyone that is just historically excluded, except for, and not just focus only on people who participated in this organization or either already participated or are currently in it. But everything we do is for current undergrad students. So we have, as far as over 230 members across the continental United States and Puerto Rico. We started just like exactly 3 years ago now. And so the membership really exists to help with delivering workshops and conferences and mentorship. So it's really all about giving back. And then there's a lot of stuff we're working on for next year as far as providing more opportunities specifically for our members, as far as development opportunities, as far as different communities, and also what I'm going to be working on is for people who want to do more speaking, whether in leadership or different things, doing training on that. And yeah, so I'm excited about what the future holds. That was just a quick plug-in for that. But I do want to get to this. I talked a little about this, but this really, this is the key takeaway I wanted to get to, as far as leadership is not just a position or its experience. Another quote by John Maxon: the position doesn't make the leader, but the leader makes the position. So that's the whole idea. Besides, like I mentioned, just because you're a manager does not make you a leader. So I want to talk about the 5 levels of leadership. And you may or may not have heard this. Some people call it the 5 levels of influence. Same thing, because we said leadership is influence. But you start at the lowest level with each person and you work your way up, building on each level. So I'll go through these pretty quickly, and then if there's any questions, we can come back. I just want to make sure you at least have all of them. But I'll skip over that. So the 5 levels of leadership are position, permission, results, reproduction, and pinnacle. So those are the 5 levels. So starting with the first one, level 1 is position. And that is what people often think about when they think of leadership. People follow you because they must. So this is when you have a leadership title or manager title. So the authority is based on the position. And I heard someone the other day at work, because we all have opportunities as a leader, but this leader specifically had more opportunities. As one of the people on the floor was saying, well, I respect their title, but I don't respect them as a person because they don't respect me. So that's really the level 1. As far as you have the position, you have the power to either to hire people or fire people. But as far as anything beyond that, you don't really have it. This is an opportunity to learn at this level, because maybe you don't have the title or you just got the title. You can learn at this level. And oftentimes when people are at this level, they rely on their leader's influence. So you might hear, well, this person said that we're doing this, or that person said we're doing this, but it's not coming from them. They don't want to take any ownership of anything. So that's level 1. Level 2 is permission. People follow you because they want to follow you. So they need to know that you care about them. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Let's say that one more time. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So at this level, you're listening well. I already mentioned listening. You're observing well. You're serving well as well. You're building those strong relationships. I would say not in a relationship that you guys are best friends. I mean, if you can be, that's great. More power to you. But that does not mean that you're best friends, that you hang out outside of work. But it does mean that you know them a little bit deeper than just surface, that this is what you do for work, and I don't know anything else about you. I don't know what motivates you, if you have any kids, if you had any hobbies, any aspirations, nothing. So this goes a little bit further for level 2. Level 3 is the results. People follow you because of what you've done for the organization. So as far as getting things done. And really, to summarize this, is that a lot of times when people move from the position level to they either go to relationship and they have a relationship, or they go to the results level, but you need both. I don't know if you can think of people that have really good relationships with people, but when you want to get stuff done, they're not the ones you go to. Or they have people that get stuff done, but they don't have good relationships. You need both. You definitely need both. Level 4 is reproduction. And this is really the last level that most people will get to. And you'll see why when I get to the final level. But people follow you because of what you've done for them. And this is at this level that you're reproducing leaders. So you're not just reproducing followers who just either blindly following you or just doing as you say, but reproducing leaders who think for themselves. And everything compounds at this level. And the final level, I know I'm going fast, but if you have any questions, definitely write it down and we'll get to it, is the pinnacle level. People follow you because of who you are and what you represent. So think of the people that really transcend really culture and time, as far as you hear their names and you're like, this is a great leader, whether it's the Mother Teresa's of the world, the Dalai Lama, I guess for the U.S., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So whether or not you are in that space, you recognize them as a leader. Whereas at level 4, really, you only recognize as a leader from the people that are around you. And so I'll just open up for questions. I Yeah, I'll open up for questions. I had like a few more things I'm going to skip. Ooh. Yeah. Any questions? All right. So the one thing it was in the slides, but I skipped past it, is that the 5 levels of leadership is critical, 5 levels of influence. What you have to remember is that each of those levels are with individual people or individual organizations. So I've worked with people that they may talk about, okay, I've done all these great things. They were reproducing leaders. People looked at them with a high amount of respect in this organization or this area. You move to another area, no one knows who you are. Or if they do know who you are, it's more so because someone else told them about what you've done. And yes, you kind of like can borrow that leadership. But when you are with different people or different areas, you basically are starting at level 1 all over again. So with different people, we're at different levels. And so if you take anything away from this talk, as far as I talk a lot of different things of leadership, is think about what level you are at with different people in your life or in your professional life. So like if it's with a spouse or with friends, maybe you're or even with your kids, it can be at sometimes is just level 1 as far as you're an authority over them. So they're going to do what you say. But is there that relationship being built? Are you actually accomplishing things? Are you empowering them as a leader as well?
More about you, your career. Looking at your background earlier on, you studied chemical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at your experience, what you do, and this session, it seems like you've kind of switched or transitioned into like a coaching role, right? So I wanted to know at what point and what influenced that, and if someone in this hall, or perhaps someone mentoring or myself wants to go that route, are there any quick tips, advice you could give to us with respect to that? Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Toyosi. I would say the switch probably happened. I don't know if it was a complete switch because, like I said, I still work in manufacturing. I still do technical work. It's just my job specifically is not only technical.
Mm-hmm.
But there were definitely roots of it planted when I was in college, as far as helping to start student organizations and gravitating towards leadership. And then I was intentional about seeking out leadership training, leadership communities. And then a few years ago when I got certified in leadership. And the advice I would give is that if you feel that, there are things that you can do either in your current work or outside of work in addition. So I would say, like I mentioned, that leadership is priorities. When you are trying to do more stuff on top of your work, I mean, it's still work. It's just work that you're more passionate about. There's going to be things that you're going to have to stop doing as far as either, I would say family is something I prioritize, but if there's other opportunities as far as maybe not spending as much time watching TV or some other activities that are, I wouldn't say that they're not good because it's good to relax, but they don't intentionally help your growth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And thanks a lot. I think it's about passion and developing the talent in you. Thanks for that. Thanks again.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. Any other person with any question?
There's a question in the chat.
Okay, so there's a question in the chat. Says, how can we have a good leadership and at the same time pursue results we want with our team, especially if some don't have the same passion in achieving it?
Trying to see. Pursue results. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yes, that is a good question. That is a tough question. I'll be honest. It's not easy when you are the only one, or you feel like you're the only one that either cares or is doing what needs to be done. And if there's an opportunity, which I know there's not always opportunity, to either talk to a manager, or if you build relationships, maybe people even above your manager, as far as not to call anyone out, but just like the overall climate of how things you are, maybe it's stuff that you've noticed. I would really phrase it as an open-ended question as far as how things are going, and kind of see what they say, because that will tell you if they're tuned in to if the rest of the team is doing things, or maybe it's even the leader that's causing this. So one or two things. If it's like the rest of the team, you can go that route as far as talking to that your team leader, or potentially try and go above. You just have to be careful with that, because you just have to be intentional about how you do that. The other part is that if it's a leader itself, I would be working on an exit strategy to either get transferred to a different team or a different job. Because the thing is that when you're a leader, you highly impact your team. And whether or not, I don't know your specific situation, if the leader's the reason why this is happening, if you're close enough to her or him, you can try and have that conversation. But it just takes a lot of emotional intelligence, and it takes a lot of you to choose your words wisely, because it can backfire on you as well. But I would say if there's someone you can talk to either within that team that feels that way, or I mean, I would offer myself too. If you want to have a conversation about it, you can reach out. But without knowing the specifics, there's a few different things that you may or may not want to do. I don't know if that helps.
Thank you for that. Not sure. Talib, does that help? Ikram?
Yeah, and I wanted to also add, something that is also important about, leadership is about having trust, deposit into the people that you lead.
Mm-hmm.
For people to be able to, follow you as a leader, there must be some level of trust that they must have had in you. So you must consciously build that trust. And, something that Paul mentioned earlier on was actually about active listening. It starts from there. Are you listening just because they said listen, or you're actually listening to understand the person? And, once you build trust, I believe it's easier for you to lead. And then you can draw from that in difficult times. Just, a few comments from me then. Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Trust is really the foundation of everything. It speeds things up when it's there. It slows things down when it's non-existent. So.
Absolutely.
Good question.
Any other comment? Well, want to say thank you. By the way, Billy, any comment from you before we close this?
Thank you so much, Senior. I'm excited about it, and I really kind of like getting some insight more into what we do. Back in our days here, in West Africa, I mean, once you are born as the first, child or something like that, leadership starts on the go. What is left is how to be able to nurture you to be that specific leader that you can care for your brothers, and then transcend into our school system, into our church or mosque, or all these places we learn what leadership is. But as time goes on, there are specific leadership roles that we play in terms of maybe your habit, maybe sports or any extracurricular activity, and then you transit also into work environment. So if we better understand what the output of the leader is in every level of life, we'll be able to be excellent at our leadership roles that we play by building the specific skills to take care of our system or environment. Thank you.
That's really good.
Wow. Thank you so much, Billy. And I'm sure we all have really gained a lot from this session. Martha, I'm sure it was a worthwhile time for you. Right?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
All right. Okay, and I had to ask Martha, obviously, because she, I mean, she's been a fantastic contributor on here today, and she's joining from the UK. And okay, we got KLM here. All right. Oga KLM, I think we would like to have your parting notes if there's anything you want to add to what has been said. I know you're naturally born leader.
I say,
Yes, sir.
good evening, and let me say good afternoon, good day to everybody. I really want to appreciate you and every one of you. I'm sorry for coming late. Actually, I scheduled the program for 8 p.m. Nigerian time, but there are so many other unforeseen circumstances. I had to go somewhere, so this is the time I could join. So I met the lecturers. I want to appreciate Paul Faronbi. You did well. From the little
Yes,
I could hear from leadership and personal traits. In fact, there was a time I delivered something like that. I would love to be more associated with NSBE. Sheyi knows that we started this thing in Nigeria, and we were very versatile and doing well with NSBE. I love it. I've attended the international conference that's in Canada 2010 and about 3 or 4 in the United States. So I love it, but because of some challenges, leadership challenges in Nigeria, because I'm into my profession, engineering and politics. So I've been very, very busy. But it's Sheyi, so I want to blame Sheyi for that, because I told him even my American visa that is expired is Sheyi that always helped me to do the renewal. He refused and he has absconded. So because of that, I could not even travel. I could not do anything to the United States to even be more involved in NSBE. So maybe everybody will help me to beg Sheyi to come back and come and assist me as usual. He has been a very wonderful brother. Even people who think we are blood brothers, he's been very, very wonderful. And that is part of the leadership trait I want. So I want to appreciate every one of you once again. This is good. So please, we'll look more to the days. So thank you so much and have a wonderful time.
All right. Thank you so much, KLM. We'll pick it up. We'll pick it up from where we left and we'll get it sorted. All right. I really personally want to thank everyone for making our time, and most especially, thank you so much, Paul. We really appreciate your time, for sharing your skills, your experience, most especially your talent with a whole lot of us. I think this session will be the least in terms of the numbers attending, and subsequent sessions will be much larger than that. Thank you so much, Martha. I've connected with Martha as well. Oladile, Ekram, Toyosi, Billy, Udo, KLM. Thank you so much for making our time, and look forward to more exciting times of collaboration together. Paul, any final word from you before we just call it a day?
So the final word really is, you are a leader, start acting like one.
Wow.
Oh, can I thank you in Igbo? I know I'm busy, but I have to. Dalun Wokoma. Tachipo.
Wow.
That's
good.
That's good.
Wow. That's nice.
Wonderful.
That's
Thank
nice.
you.
All right.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
All
Have
right.
a good evening.
Take care. Yeah.
Turn this up. Turn this up.
Your professional development is one of the keys to your career success. When you combine your desire to grow with actionable steps, your journey to success becomes an incredible reality.